Welcome to the Amen Podcast, where all men from all walks of life, backgrounds, and ages can obtain the tools on how to become alpha men from a Christ-centered perspective in today's society. Here's your host, Jimmy Greer.
Well, everybody, strap on the seatbelts. Definitely keep those magazines full and ready because this one's going to be a hot one. I'm just telling you, I've been waiting for this for a little while now. And I'll introduce my guests in just a minute. But I just want to tell you a little bit of backdrop on this guy. I've known him since 2019. And our background is definitely was forged in Spartan racing, which he's still involved in. But there's much more to him than just an athlete, as a man, as an alpha, and definitely. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give you the dessert before I give you the meat and potatoes. Okay. So my guest is Cole Droza. Man, this guy is something else. So I'm just going to kind of read a little bit here. Just give me, I'm going to give you folks some context, okay, what we're dealing with today. So 27 years, over 27 years, active duty, wounded warrior, tons of combat deployment. I'll just kind of read off some things, and I'm just going to, brag on you a little bit, bro, okay? We're going to get it done. So Bronze Star Medal with Valor Device, Bronze Star Medal with 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, Purple Heart Medal, Defense Meritorious Service Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, and Campaign, and Service Medals in support of Global War on Terror, Purple Heart. So I read this, and the years that I've known Cole, the funny thing is, I never heard this. This was not a conversation that we've really discussed, and it's. I think I'm gonna dupe you and say you're a medal collector. Now, when I say medal collector, I don't mean you collect them to collect them. You collect them because you are a man that collects medals because of your efforts, your mentality, your spirituality, your drive, your grit, your focus. But again, I want to welcome Cole Droza to the show. How's it going, man?
Jimmy, thank you very much for having me on, and thank you for the introduction to accolades. And it's real quick, just to string on to the medals. The military is a unique environment ecosystem. You take ordinary men and women, put them in extraordinary circumstances like combat, and they react. And that's due to training. It's due to a certain level of skill set they have. But all those medals and the awards that I have that were earned, and in combat and deployments and I couldn't do it without my left and rights, and I couldn't do it without great leaders that helped define and develop me. And I'm extremely fortunate to have God on my side to be here today to get through those tough times, those trials and tribulations when you wonder, how am I going to make it out of this, Baghdad alley at 1 o'clock in the morning when grenades are coming over the rooftops and the alleyways. Dear Lord, get me home and have me the strength and courage to lead my men back to base safely once we neutralize the enemy. But all of that, is to say, and stuff that we'll talk to is I'm just really blessed to have this opportunity and capability that the Lord's given me. And I know that first and foremost. So thanks again for having me. I appreciate the accolades. It's great to see you. I'm gone. The world has changed so much since 2019, but it's good to connect.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But I'm going to keep going a little bit on some accolades. It's kind of, some of the dirt that we've chewed together a little bit here as far as racing goes. So let's see. I'll get into the, what is it, High Rocks? Is that what it is?
Hyrox.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about, not a whole lot, but I've been hearing about that. That's the new hot rod for racing, right?
Oh yeah.
So definitely OCR racer. You've got 161 competitive Spartan races earnings, 114 elite in the AG podiums. U.S. National Series, love that race. AG champion every year since 2018 across 3 age groups. Most notable Spartan achievements include the 22 Spartan AG World Champion Abu Dhabi. And then we've got 2019 AG Trifecta World Champion in Sparta, Greece. So the first time, I don't think I told you this, but the first time that, and this is going to be funny to say this, that you're on my radar was 2017 was the first year. You were at Big Bear. I didn't know who you were at that time. You know, this is my first race, man. This is my first cleat in the dirt, right? That's the one I chose was, you know, Big Bear. And so, I looked down at the finish, and so at that time for everybody, you know, the course of field for racing, especially in Spartan or OCR as a whole, has changed. Wouldn't you agree, Cole? Is changed so much, COVID, but just the whole landscape of that has changed quite a bit. Yeah. So I look at my results, and I'm looking at different people, you know, names, and I see this dude at the top. At that time, if I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'll probably forget it, but was it age group elite is what it was? No, that's not right.
That was the first year we went from Masters elite, and then it was a 10-year
Masters.
Yeah, Masters. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Masters. That's exactly what it was. So I see your name, and I'm like looking at your time, then looking at my time way down here, and I'm like, good night. What is going on with this guy? So then, you know, following you and just, you know, a few races when you'd come out to the West Coast, of course, you know, seeing how you're doing. And then finally I said, okay, because something I read in your bio that I really liked, but I kind of knew it, but you said basically that a person has to gain more skill set by gaining other people that are better than them, smarter than them in the room. So gathering, you become great at collecting people that are better than you to challenge you, encourage you, help sharpen you, right? Yeah. And so I did exactly that. I was looking at you and I was like, okay, this is the dude that I got to chase. This is the cleat I got to run behind, the dirt I got to chew. So speak a little bit. We'll bounce from Spartan, but then we're going to get back to the meat and potatoes here from the military aspect. So let's say 2017 to current date, what have you seen the different changes and challenges in racing that were, let's say, then versus now?
Yeah, I think one, and this is a good thing, is the depth of competitiveness has increased on the age group side and somewhat now on the elite too. This is great for the sport because now you're seeing, even in now my new age group, the 50 to 54 that I race, but obviously I'm racing a lot more elite these days, and we can talk on that. It's about to be pushed and you'd be humbled, and it keeps that fire burning hot to train to a certain level to, compete with guys 30 years younger than I. But I see the depth across really those 35 all the way up into the 50s age group. I think they are specializing. They're seeing now, you know what? This is this opportunity to make myself better, to be competitive again. If you look back 20, 30 years ago, our parents, what were they doing at 35, 40, 45? Nothing compared. They didn't have this outlet. We didn't have Hyrox, DecaFit, OCR races, all, mountain races. And now I see it's this second coming in life for those who have in the backstage are looking to be a little better, challenge themselves, step up. be an example not only for their family potentially, for their young, their kids, but in their community,
Yeah.
and just for others and for themselves. And so I'm seeing that's the first thing is I'm seeing the depth and people really specializing and taking it serious, getting coaches, understanding nutrition, all of that only really professional or semi-professional athletes were following those protocols. We're seeing that now at the age group. And that's really, really cool and exciting,
So fortunately for me, I was, in the area where I train in the Central Valley in California. So they have a pretty big race community here because we're pushed right up against the Sierra Nevadas. We're 30 to 45 minutes to, high elevation racing, 7,000 feet or above. So the understanding of that is so key because I want you to listen up, Alpha Men, on this one, because this is really key. So if you're wanting to improve the aspects of your life, and you said this too, when in your questions and the answers that you gave me. So it trickles down into so many different aspects of life, your energy level, your self-appearance, obviously. Your own self-confidence is huge. And then by challenging yourself in these types of events, you get to see what you're made out of. But to do that, you really have to look at those key areas, is looking at what your diet is, looking at what your training schedule is, getting a coach. And so I got a coach when I was racing. So I got from 2018, 2019, that was a year that I saw vast improvements in what I was doing. Now, granted, chasing a gazelle like yourself, that's a whole different animal by itself. It was crazy, but the mentality is the same. Wouldn't you agree, Cole, that it doesn't matter if you're doing a 5:30 or 5:25 minute mile, or if you're doing a 6 1/4, it's just faster. That's all it is. But the mentality and the drive's got to be the same. Wouldn't you agree?
No, that's right. If you're an elite runner who's running some of our guys are running 440, 430 miles, then you have others that are in our competitive space running 8-minute miles. If they're giving their 80 to 90% on a good quality run, it's 80 to 90%, whether you're running 430 or you're running 8-minute miles. It's all about your capacity and your capability. You can't necessarily always compare yourself to somebody else, right? Compare is the theft of joy. But the key is, are you putting in that right effort? Am I doing my 80%, my 90%? Am I giving 100%, or am I leaving something out? That's the difference, where an elite athlete has, not always, but has the ability to say, you know what, I can give it all. And this is my focus. And those of us who are doing this as for fun, to be better and be competitive, that's that other piece. And yeah, you're right. Speed doesn't matter. It's that effort. It's that ability and the capability that we're putting in, that 80 to 90, whatever that training purpose is for that run is key. Yep.
Agreed. So some of the products that you use, let's just, touch on that real quick. How do they enhance your training? How do they enhance recovery during race performance, if you can hit on those?
Yeah. I'll first open up with this, that I only partner with products that are willing to work with athletes, that are providing a something valuable to athletes, and that have a good mission statement. And if I don't use or believe in the product, I do not get in partnership with them. That's why I only have 5 main partnerships, when there's many other opportunity to partner with others. But if I'm not interested in the product, or I do not fully believe in it, then I'm not just jumping into a partnership for some free free product, or a small little podium bonus. So the first one that I'm so excited about is Soar, which is actually what I'm wearing. So Soar Phyto Performance, because it's all natural. It is made with fruits and vegetables, phytonutrients. It's been around for many years, and one of the 2 main components that I utilize is their Alt Red and their Immunity. We'll talk Alt Red first. because this benefits everybody, and everybody has a great understanding of beets. So Alt Red is simply a beet product, and everybody knows the power of beets and how it improves oxygen delivery,
Yes,
so it improves performance. But the problem is a lot of your beetroot powders, juices, it can upset people's stomachs. Two, they supply carbohydrates and nitrates. The good thing about Sewer product is it's a very small capsule. They have a proprietary process that removes the beet color. It's the betaline. That's the power. That betaline has no sugars, no nitrates, so it forces your body to produce its own nitrates. So it's more bioavailable and it has a much longer lifespan. So instead of a beetroot powder where you're going to get the great effects but then crash, that Alt Red is going to be a performance enhancer. So your body's building its own nitrates, so improving an oxygen delivery for a much longer lifespan, anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5 hours, depending on your body. So it's all natural in that regards, and it's just a small capsule. Right. The other piece is, besides oxygen delivery, it's also helping threshold, your lactate threshold. So what is that doing? That's allowing you to train a little harder, be in that area where you are getting the most out of your training opportunity, whether racing or training. If you're racing now, you're able to put more output at a longer between hitting that lactate threshold where you're going to have to diet down. So it's buffering that. And the last part, the third piece, is it's reducing those markers for muscle damage. So now you're performing better and you're recovering faster. So now you can get back out there and train the next day quicker.
That's good.
Better recovery, and obviously racing is a little better. So immunity, the other piece of that, which I love, again, it's fruits and vegetables all in the tiny capsule. It's all about fighting antioxidants, because when we train at whatever level, I don't care if you were just on the treadmill walking or if you are a high endurance athlete, we're building antioxidants. These antioxidants build free radicals, which slow recovery and also creates sickness and health. So this immunity pill with these phytonutrients of very specialized certain vegetables and fruits, you take it, it's fighting these free radicals. So again, helping you recover faster, buffer, and as an antioxidant, help prevent and stave off sickness. So those are the two for Sewer that I'm so excited to be partnered with since 2018. They're well known in the triathlon world, but that one, I'm very excited. And I have others, but I definitely wanted to highlight Sewer.
Yeah, and then I'm personally a fan of Alt Red, man. I've used that before. That's
incredible.
That's some hot fire stuff right there. I've enjoyed
incredible.
that. I've seen, what's funny is like, if you're an endurance athlete and you're running a lot, you're training a lot, you're racing a lot, you're always looking, and especially at our age, you're looking for that edge to recover, to endure, right? You're becoming a student is really what you're doing, right? So, and again, every supplement is different. I always tell people like this: supplements are like shoes. What shoe works for you may not work for me, vice versa. And what may work for you may not work for me. The only way to do that is to do your homework course, and try it and see if it works. If it works, keep it in the wheelhouse, make sure that you're using that properly. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed that product when I was using that full time. So I'm a fan of it. I'm sold.
And I'll just leave you this. So, when, endurance athletes, whether mountain, marathon, half marathon, we always hear a supplementation for your muscles while you're out on that long run. Some people do a gel or a goo or tailwind.
Right.
Well, this is what I tell people. I said, you're already taking a supplement for, your muscles. Why not supplement for your cardiovascular system? And that's what sort of people don't think about that. This is a supplement for your cardiovascular, and you're leaving that 2 to 3 to 4% out there. That is huge when you're training and racing. But good point.
Oh, no, I totally agree with that, because here's the thing. And guys, if you're listening, it doesn't matter if you're 13 or you're running at 65, 70 years of age, doesn't matter. Here's the reality is, and I don't know, I believe I already know the answer to this, but I just want to confirm it. So most people, when they're training, especially high endurance, if you're running, you're specifically a tri guy, you're a marathon guy, you're a trail guy, or OCR, DECA, doesn't matter. The thing is that you have to train your heart, not your pace. And most people flip that up. They get backwards on that, right? So, but when we're talking about the supplementation, the cardiovascular, that directly affects that. So if you start marrying those thoughts together, you really start to understand that the science is really going to help you. And so there is no excuse to get your body out there and get moving, improve these areas of your life. Because listen, at the end of the day, some of you guys out there, you got kids, you got family, you want to stick around, right? So you want to definitely positively impact your heart and your cardiovascular because they're linked. So, check out these products. Again, these are just tools, fellas. These are things that we got to look at. They're important to include in our routines. Rather, it's working out in the gym. It doesn't matter. I mean, right, Cole? I mean, that's what I'm thinking about it.
Absolutely. No, you make a good point too. Fitness is more than just, I'm an athlete and I'm, training as an elite athlete and I'm competing, but the everyday person, man, woman is not necessarily trying to compete. So maybe they don't understand the value always of fitness. Well, like you just stated, fitness is going to do a lot of things, especially as being an alpha male in a high stress world where you're leading, you're making decisions, there's difficulties, trials and tribulations, while balancing family needs and friend needs. Well, fitness is a great buffer to that to help give you that little boost of energy, mitigate, make you a little stronger healthy wise, and allow you to just really where you have lots of fires going and now you can tend them a little better when you're a little better fitness.
Exactly. And, we also couple those things because you become the little scientist in your lab at your house. You're trying to figure things out. Does this work? Does that work? But the diet, I don't care if you do 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 sit-ups, but if your diet's not on point, it all goes to crap at that point.
Here's a simple math.
It really does.
Yeah. It's trash in equals trash out, right? The other thing I like, and it's okay. I'm not always eating healthy. There's a time and place. But here's the other thing when people want to know about eating healthy. Well, one, it's about portion control, and there's a time, but if you just know what you're doing, if you're eating a whole pizza or you decide a half, and you could do a half with a salad, but it's also calories in versus calorie out. It's a numbers game. So if you have more calories going in that you ever have going out, then you have an imbalance. So if you're thinking about, hey, the food that I'm taking in, okay, well, maybe I need to mitigate that with just a little bit of exercise. And it doesn't take a whole lot. It just takes some movement that will help you in that, not you, but people in balancing a healthy lifestyle with food. But yeah, you're right. Trash in is always going to be trash out. So you really got to put in some of that good stuff every once in a while.
I always tell people, and I'm sure that you do too, and you probably, get, I don't would say get tired of it, but it's a broken record, but it's a broken record you want to listen to, and that is calorie deficit. So I try to tell people, depending on what your schedules of training or racing is going to be, of course, we eat and prep differently for race than we do training. But the reality of it is that if you're constantly observant of what your your caloric intake is versus how much you're going to burn that day, you're going to eat according to what you're going to burn. And if people understand that, you don't really have to get into, the mathematics of it too much. It's not a hard concept. You don't have to go on a special diet plan. You're just watching it. You're aware of it, right?
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
No, that's awesome because, at the end of the day, we just want to get tools to you guys and help you understand, since I've known Cole, this guy just got better and better. And I see all the aspects that he's bringing into his tool shed, if you will. So he brings in the diet. He brings in, obviously, the training is through the roof. And we could talk an hour on training alone, but I don't want to get too much into that because then we'll get off on all kinds of rabbit trails. But, if you marry all of these aspects, you're going to improve your life. You're going to improve your marriage. Is it going to fix a whole bunch of different things? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's going to improve some areas that you might be lacking in. You're not energetic like you used to. Rather, you're 35 or 45. It doesn't matter. So when you're bringing all these aspects into play and you're applying them, your life is going to get better, because I've never seen anybody at any Spartan event, any racing event, that was walking around ho-hum and just be like, man, life's, and I'm not talking about the trials of life. We all got trials. We all got struggles. But you just don't see unhappy people in the race field. You just don't, because we're full of endorphins. But we have a common goal with each other, correct?
That's very spot on with that. Yep.
So anyhow, so we're gonna switch gears here, man, and I wanna talk about grit mentality, man, because this thing traverses multiple areas of life, right? Especially in Alpha, because if I was gonna say anybody, and I've got a small pool of people that I refer to, and it's not a comparison game. It's just people that share the same mentality, like a Jocko, a Goggins, here we go. Droza gets named into that, dropped into that bucket. The grit and the mentality to develop that, I think that today in our society, I think men lack that. And I think we were talking about that earlier, in the pre-show, was just kind of looking at the frame of reference, like what you've been shown growing up. What have you been modeled? What have you applied to yourself? Just not waiting around for somebody to plop it on your lap and say, hey, here's how you build your mental fortitude. If you could elaborate on that and just talk about how is it that you develop such just a solid mentality to push and keep pushing?
Yeah, no, it's good. And that could be pretty difficult. And I'm going to give a little backstory.
Box it in.
So some people, would look at me and say, man, yeah, he's successful. He must came from a great background. Well, I didn't have a father growing up. Simple as that. My grandmother raised me, mother part-time. So I had a very broken childhood. But I never used that as an excuse. So it would have been too easy to lay back and not be motivated. Maybe some of it is DNA driven as well as I want to succeed at whatever cost possible. I'm going to figure this out. And for me, one, it started in sports early, got involved, because that starts building some leadership. It starts building failure and how to overcome failure. It starts building communication skills that are required in team building. You get put in leadership positions, whether you want to or not, and you become part of a team. And you can see on parts of teams, some people rise up, some people stay back in the shadows. But wherever you are, it's teaching some great skills. So for me, it was getting in the sport and understanding and developing that competitive spirit. And that was something I thrived on. It was competition. So, from high school or before high school, baseball into high school, I wrestled, soccer and baseball. And that right there were some of those things that were developing, some of those attributes you're talking about. And that next step for me, because I didn't have capability, I didn't have someone, offering a scholarship, parents who could send me to school. So I had to earn it myself. And so a great way, I thought, was joining the military, the U.S. Army. And that's right at high school, about 5 months after graduation, after I finished playing soccer in Germany, I joined the military, which then, that's a whole nother thing we can talk about. But, initially, it was getting involved in sport and understanding and where you have to, it's you. When you wrestle, no one's going to hand it to you. You got to put in the hard work. That also means running and doing things when no one else is doing it on the weekends, because it takes that just to be that much better. Because once you step into the ring, it's you against somebody else, and they put in the work. And did you put in more work? And you got to meet them eye to eye and face them. And that's developing a level of grit that, you don't necessarily always get in team sports, but something I really enjoyed about wrestling. And I took that with me as I, joined the military and moved on. What it really takes, that warrior mentality. Before I even understood warrior mentality, in wrestling, that's really what I was developing, stepping into that ring with someone who could have been bigger, stronger, faster, but you had to do it and you had to face it. head on. There's no excuses, no backing out.
So we understand, earn not given, and I think that's just a lost mentality today. I mean, you just find it. You don't find it everywhere.
Yeah.
And the reason why you don't find it anywhere, not anywhere, but most places, is because you have to foster that culture, first of all, right? You have to be a part of that community, and you have to be willing to pay that price to really get those kinds of results and to push yourself mentally, So bridge the gap between, if you could, I know this might be a tough stretch, but we're going to try to get there, so hardest course, what it took for you to finish, most hardest course that challenged you, and then bridge that one all the way over to firefight description. Let's bridge those gaps, because grit mentality right there is the same. Now, your skill sets obviously are different. Your operations are different. Mentality's a little bit different, right? But the drive is still there. The focus and the goal is still there. Touch on that for the audience, if you could, please.
Yeah, we'll unpackage and we'll go to the hardest course. And I would say the hardest course was the one I wasn't necessarily fully prepared for. Right? When you're fully not prepared for a task. This one being a Spartan race, you get humbled very, very quick, especially when I knew I was coming into it thinking I was fit. But one thing that's great about outdoor endurance events like Spartan or any OCR or trail runs is you can be ready for the terrain and you can be trained, but what you cannot be ready for is Mother Nature and things that can be thrown your way. And sure I am a New Jersey beast in October, a mountain run. I'm sorry, it's a super 2018. We're hovering around 30. It was an elite race, about 36 degrees. It's not freezing, manageable, but then it starts to rain. And that rain with the wind just brings it hovering right around that freezing temperature. And I did not have the right race gear on. Completely wrong kind of gloves. You learn. That's how you learn, by mistakes. I'm new into the sport. So, a race kit is key. The right type of jacket, the right type of gloves that's not holding water. So bottom line is probably mile 2 or 3 climbing this mountain, I fell back all the way, one of the bottom elites. And literally, I was telling myself, get to the next mile as I'm shivering, having failures to get up a 10-foot wall because I can't feel my fingers, slipped off a wall and had to do burpees in the mud, in the cold, as I still have to go up the mountain. And I just tell myself, listen, we're going to break this down 1 mile at a time. Get to the next mile. You will survive. You're okay. Tell yourself you are okay. And I remember that so clearly because it defined a lot of what I can endure and overcome. Telling yourself, getting over those situations where you are I'm at very close to hypothermia, but you mentally, when you're tapped in, switched in and break it up. I didn't look at it now as 6 more miles. I literally look one step at a time. Don't hurt yourself. Get to the next mile marker, then get to the next one. So that's now tying that into the military. A lot of things that I've done that are tough in obstacle course racing, for instance, Tahoe, freezing weather, negative 30 degrees as we're climbing the mountains, is I reflect back to those hard times. I'll reflect back to Ranger School when I have a 70-pound ruck on. I've been moving for 23 hours straight to the next patrol base. I haven't ate anything all day but water, except for a couple of the rocks I would suck on or a leaf that I would chew on or a piece of bark just to mentally get myself moved. So I reflect on those tough times. And that's what I think things like Spartans do. It will change what you think is difficult in your life. So when you go through those experiences, and it may not be Spartan, it could be a variety of things, but when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, then that is a new marker. That is a new leveler. Now, whatever comes up later in life, you know what? At least I'm not on the side of that mountain, freezing cold, barely moving, freezing to death, limits of hypothermia. I can get through whatever challenge I have right now. And I use those opportunities all the time to reflect upon a potential difficult situation, whether it's work, family related, or whatever the case may be, and just look
Right.
at it for what it is and change that context. So I rely a lot on those difficult situations. I know not a lot of people in the military, but a lot of people put themselves in difficult situations. And if they haven't, I challenge them to find something difficult that they think they couldn't do, that's in the realm of possibility, sign up for it. I don't care if it's
man.
a venture race or, a half marathon, because uncomfortableness builds character, grit. And so when we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations,
So
I mean, you
true.
mentioned Goggins, right? That's how you
Yes.
grow. If we stay status quo, you're not growing, you're not evolving. In organizations, just like in people, if you don't evolve, you don't grow, you don't get better. You stagnate and you actually are dying, you're atrophying. So just like getting up and moving, we have to move. Well, it's being uncomfortable, and getting ourselves in those uncomfortable situations make us grow. It evolves us and it makes us better. It's building grit, determination, desire. But yeah.
Yeah, man. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back, and then when we come back, we're gonna get into the bridging. So when we come back, Cole, get that firefight story, because I wanna hear the differences, and I'm sure the audience does as well, how you compare that grit, determination, focus, and transfer that into mindset, focus, tasking in that firefight. We'll be right back. Are you ready to become the strongest version of yourself, Alpha Men? Meet Paul Watson, a military veteran. Paul knows the importance of physical fitness, mental and physical toughness, and the role it plays in one's overall health and well-being. That's why I'm proud to recommend Warrior Fitness, a fitness program designed to help you become the strongest version of yourself. Whether you're looking for elite military selection training, including endurance and strength training, group classes, individualized training, and personalized diet plan development, we're here to help you achieve your fitness goals. Our experienced trainers understand the value of hard work and perseverance, and they will work with you to push your limits and achieve new heights. Join our community of warriors and take on a new challenge that will help you to build strength, increase your endurance, and improve your overall health. With Warrior Fitness, you'll discover a new sense of discipline, resilience, and pride. Sign up today and let's take on the challenge together. Check them out at their Fresno location at 8039 North Cedar Avenue, Fresno, California, 93720, or on the web on Instagram and Facebook. Or if you want to just give them a call, go ahead, 559-242-2570. Stay Alpha. All right. Welcome back, everybody. So before on the break, we were talking about bridging that gap between Spartan racing, grit, focus, mentality, mindset, and then how Cole was gonna elaborate on that, and how and some of the particular firefights that he's in combat, and how that same mentality helped him not just lead, but lead from a standpoint of, encouraging his guys, to keep pushing, because he is a leader. And because of that, people are always watching him. Eyes are always on you, even when you don't think they are. So let's hear about that.
Yeah, that's good. Multiple combat deployments, especially in the combat arms, an infantry guy, I'm an Army Ranger, quite a lot of firefights, some urban, some rural in the mountains of Afghanistan. One I reflect upon quite a bit is one that happened in downtown Baghdad in an area we call Haifa Street. This was a no-go zone, what we call black. No one's allowed to go in except for the units that were operating in that area, just because the insurgent activity was so heavy. And we're talking the 04 into 05, specifically, we're talking the late 04, at the height of really the Islamic State, al-Zarqawi, if you remember, way back then, when he was really the Sunni leader terrorist of in Iraq. So one I think about, one I don't talk about a whole lot. So bear with me. So I'm going to kind of lay the foundation here.
Yes, sir.
At that time, I was a platoon leader, rifle platoon leader, infantry, and I had a platoon of 43 men. We work out of a combat, we'll call it combat outpost, very small organization near the areas we patrol. And when we talk Baghdad, we're talking your most densely populated area, like think downtown Chicago, downtown New York, except not as many high rises, obviously. Very slum, tight neighborhoods and alleyways, dark alleyways that aren't very symmetrical. So we've had to learn that through multiple patrols, backwards, in and out, because you can't just walk around with the map, but you got to understand where alleyway entries are, because insurgents can pop in an alleyway, out of exfil, up and over walls. So we have to put ourselves in the most advantageous position to find, fix, and eliminate the enemy, because that's what we're necessarily doing out there. We're trying to control that terrain and eliminate the enemy from the population from influencing. On this particular evening, we've already finished the patrol for the day. Normally, whether it's 3, 4, 5 hour patrol, we come back, then we start doing what we call refitting. So, hey, that's preparing your gear, preparing your weapons, cleaning it, full preparation for the next day patrol, or if we had to go out on a quick reaction force from one of our fellow platoons that may be out patrolling that night. Well, about 11 o'clock at night, 2300, as most of us are bedding down, getting ready for the next patrol early in the morning, I get a call from our Tactical Operations Center, said, listen, we have enemy movement. We have visual of men anywhere from 15 to about 25 with RPGs, AK-47s, machine guns. We're going to send 3 platoons out. We want to isolate this enemy, and we want to move into blocking positions in order to control their location and then move in to neutralize the enemy threat. So my platoon was tasked to isolate an area of our normal patrol areas. So the first thing you have to do is I got to run to the Tactical Operations Center and get the details, the task and the purpose, who, what, when, where, why, while at the same time, I'm letting my junior leaders know in the platoon, hey guys, warning order, get ready. We're going out, get prepped, be outside, and in 15 minutes, and I'll give you the mission. So the very first thing you're having to do is understand the mission. You may not have a lot of details, but the first thing you have to do is say, you know what? My men are trained. My men are well trained, well armed, well equipped. I have confidence in what they got to do. I understand my task. I understand this neighborhood. This is going to be very dangerous, but this is a task. And in yourself, you tell them, when you go back out, say, men, I have 5 minutes to tell you what we're about to do, and here's how we're going to accomplish it. And I give a full mission brief that normally you would have 30 minutes, but because this is a time-sensitive target, and we have other platoons maneuvering, we had to get in our positions. I had about 5 minutes. So the very first thing is, one, you have to present that confidence. Men, listen, we are infantry. We do things that other people do not want to do. That's why you volunteered to be an infantryman. We're going to go out there today and do exactly what is asked for us. We're going to put ourselves in harm's way, and we're going to seek and destroy and neutralize this enemy force. And you tell them that's how it is. And then you lay out exactly your expectation. Your task, clear. Is this, purpose this. This squad, task, purpose this. And then there's 3 maneuver elements, and I was on 1. The next thing you do as a leader, I want to put myself in the position, and I know this already coming up front and, based on patrolling, put myself in the most dangerous, what we call position, or the high chances of making enemy contact. Now, enemy has a boat. So I made sure I was with that maneuver element where I thought, more than likely, based on the understanding of the terrain, that we would receive contact. So here we go. We're moving out. Darkened nights, night vision's on. My other 2 elements squads move out, establish their block position. We're moving through the cover of darkness into our blocking position in these narrow, dark, completely blacked out alleyways, which is good because we own the night. The tension is high. We're getting reports that, hey, yep, we see still enemy movement. Get into position before we execute. As my last maneuver element, of a section of about 11 men. Midway in between, so I could command and control. I have my interpreter with me. As we're maneuvering through a crossway of an alley, just so happened we nicknamed those alleys Grenade Alley, Purple Heart Lane, just because of the significant contact that we've taken through the months and the previous unit through the months and all the grenades that we've ate, and guys were injured. As we were maneuvering in, hold up the blocking positions, we were probably no more than 10 meters out, 20 meters out from holding and radioing in. We were set for the next phase. A large explosion went off. Only thing I remember is, and I didn't understand there was an explosion, this alleyway, you can imagine, is only 8 feet wide. I was on one side of the alleyway maneuvering against the alleyway. When I understood what was going on, I was on the other side of the alleyway. I literally thought I was lifted up in the air and sat over there. What I didn't realize is, that is a blackout that's taken place. I thought my teeth were shattered because all I had was grit rock in my mouth. What I didn't understand was because the explosion and the force blew all that into our mouths. Initially, what I'm trying to understand is I'm on the radio, contact, and I'm trying to assess, because what I immediately know now is this is an ambush. Doesn't matter whether it's in the woods along a tree line or if it's in a alleyway and it's initiated by an IED. This is an ambush. And what that means is enemies are observing it, and their next state is to put direct fire and neutralize us, just like we would try to ambush them. So that's the first thing to do. Recognize the situation and understand quickly what is about to take place. And that means you've got to have security. It's understanding the basic principles of patrolling, right? Got to have security. You need to have command and control. And there's a variety of other things. So the first thing is assessing, security. I immediately could see men down, men without legs, men not moving on the ground, but you can't worry about that, because if we worry about the ones that are wounded, then we're not worried about putting in security and what is the enemy's next plan of attack. So we wait until we secure and neutralize the threat, then we worry about the wounded. That is a tough thing to do, but that comes in those deliberate actions and my men not being confused and yelling and screaming and trying to create aid, understanding through lots of training that neutralize the threat, put in security. We will, once that threat is neutralized, then we will worry about it. Otherwise, you become more of a target and you can be injured. So the first thing I do is realize quick assessment, and out of that squad, there was only 4 of us completely uninjured. The guy behind me, my interpreter, KIA, killed in action. My squad leader killed in action immediately, and they were literally 3 feet from me, right behind me. And so without even thinking, now you're wondering, how did and to get my RTO in front of me, shrapnel through the leg, is on one leg, and I'm telling, guess what? You're all right. Get on the radio, call in the SITREP, situation report. We're going to need medevac and back, a recovery force once we, get the area secured. So immediately I start moving men, put in security, and then comes the ambush from 5 meters, 7 meters away from the rooftops with grenades and direct fire right onto our position, exposed in a very small 8-foot alleyway. Under nods are no longer working, now at about 0100 in the morning after we've been up for well over 24 hours. And as you do, you return with overwhelming fire, fall back to training. I bring this one up because I said to myself at this time, dear Lord, and everything slowed, and it was amazing. And I say this because I got this clarity. I said, Lord, if this is my last day on earth, I am comforted knowing that you have watched over me and that I have love for you and you have love for me. And if I die right here, I am okay with that. And then with a snap, I was just able to just see clear, talk with my guys who were returning fire, assessing the situation, getting in the radio calls, and within a few minutes, threats neutralized. We put in security. We try to do first aid on those who are missing limbs, assess the KIA, maintain security, and then call for quick reaction forces for a medical evacuation out of the area. So the enemy had, and that's where I actually won the Bronze Star, or awarded the Bronze Star for Valor, not really winning that Valor device on that firefight right there. Yeah.
Now, explain for those that don't have the military background what the cluster means, or multiple clusters.
With the, I'm sorry, cluster?
The clusters. So Oak Leaf Cluster is.
Oak Leaf Cluster. Yes. So Oak Leaf clusters are multiple awards. So when you have anything, a Bronze Star with Oak Leaf Cluster, you have the Bronze Star. The Oak Leaf Cluster is a second Bronze Star. A second Oak Leaf Cluster is your third, and so on and so on. So your Oak Leaf is your additional Bronze Stars being awarded. The V device is for Valor. That obviously is through direct enemy contact.
Those nobody wants to be a medal collector, and that's from that standpoint. But it comes with the job. It comes with the territory. You gain those because of the foot forward that you have to take, not only mentally but physically. You beat me to the punch on that, because I was keying out on that, and I'm just thinking back to the part of the story where, you got 3 feet from you from what was, and then in a moment, in a snap, was no longer. You got guys down. You got guys missing. They're not breathing.
Yeah.
And there was just 3 of you in that direct vicinity. Did I hear that correctly? So you, 2 other guys, and then it was just you, but a total of like 4 guys left that survived it. Correct?
So that were uninjured. Everybody else
uninjured.
At 11 or 12 were injured, either KIA, killed in action, missing limbs, shrapnel through the torsos. And for instance, my RTO, 1 leg, shrapnel all the way through 2. And I said, get on the radio. This is what you got to do. You're okay. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Here's the other interesting, and I say this because, we take ordinary men, put them in, extraordinary circumstances, and see how they, the company commander's radio operator was with us too, because he also wanted to go with the decisive operation, where he realized, because he knew I was going to be there, and I'm putting myself in the decisive operation. We are going to have contact. Yeah. This is it. Well, the RTO lost a leg. As we're putting in a tourniquet, I said, listen, and I said, the firefight is about to come, and this is happening in split seconds. He grabbed his weapon. He said, sir, tell me where to shoot. Just tell me where to shoot. With 1 arm, right? No leg, bleeding out, and he's trying to return fire. And I said, listen, no, you're going to be okay. You are going to be okay. We're going to get you out of here, right? Apply the tourniquet, just set him still, put the weapon in his hand, not with any magazine, just because obviously he is just full of adrenaline. But you see this and you remark on that. And, those memories, last, a lifetime. And of course the other memories last, but some of those are, as we stated, but it comes down to, as a leader, you have to be in a leader position, and this is that time, and you fall back on trained skills, multiple repetitions on what if, because you can never be put in this environment in training, but you can train on actions on contact. So it's, as a leader, rehearsing that. And I don't care if you're a manager at a restaurant, rehearse how your bartenders are making a drink. I do not care what level you are. There's rehearsals that you can do to ensure that your employees know what to do. Well, the military is the same way. And we rehearse that time and time again, that nothing is necessarily muscle memory, but at least we understood how to react. And then those innate leadership abilities that are honed within us come out, and you react. Yeah, you react. Right. And the men are confident, right? In the situation that I was giving them a decision that was going to, neutralize and get us out alive. And so they're confident in that because of everything that leads up to that point in time.
So two points that I wanted to touch on. So, it doesn't matter. Racing's for fun. That's it. We're talking real life stuff now, is what we're, real situations. And so in a moment when you have absolute chaos, so in 2018 going into 2019, I prayed a very dangerous prayer. And it was literally life altering because I never knew until later what was going to happen in my life personally. I'd be faced with extreme personal challenges that I had never imagined that I would have to be a part of. But I prayed and I said, Lord, teach me how to become comfortable in discomfort while remaining focused on you. And so when you said that, man, that hit me, because in a moment of extreme discomfort and chaos, clarity came in the snap of a finger. And you and I both know, man, that was God. God got involved in your situation. And men, whoever's listening to this, we have to understand, in our most extreme challenging situations, all eyes are on us, and they are looking, and I know you'll agree with this, Cole, is they are looking for that decision-making process to take place, because we are leaders. And Alpha is a leader, not because he wears a t-shirt that says Alpha Male on it or walks around beating on people. I could really go into that, but I'm not going to. A leader leads with humility, but he also leads by example. I know that's a cliche. I don't care that it's a cliche. It's real, right? So the mere fact that you took in that situation, not only just your training, but you included God as a part of that process and giving him the praise and thanks for that in that moment, man, that speaks, it speaks volumes, Cole. It really does. It really does.
You two things there. I want to highlight the latter there first, about what was really unique, because this was early on in our deployment this time in Iraq. So, this took place in May. We got there in April, and we already have KAs. Well, I'm sorry, March. So within 60 days, we've already had multiple wounded before then. But what was unique, because when you are patrolling in a very hostile environment like a city, every trash pile becomes a threat. Every alleyway becomes a threat that you have to cross. Every building has a potential sniper on it. And so a lot of times you are walking around very anxious and trying to understand where every threat. Well, after that situation, it was very unique, because now patrols, when I would walk by a trash pile, I no longer was so worried. It's like, damn it, is this the ID that's going to go off because the initiator is sitting in that building, he sees us. So I had comfort, like, you know what? If this is the time, I am okay with that. I have come to a grasp and an understanding and a faith in the Lord that is okay if this is my time. And I could see others in the platoon who maybe weren't necessarily hadn't met that level of comfort, whether with the Lord or something else. And there's nervousness, and there's fear. And when you have fear on almost every step, every trash pile, or every corner, that's taken away from your job at hand in that observation. So one, that helped me out tremendously as a leadership ability, because now that wasn't something I hadn't necessarily had a lot of energy or focus on, was that threat right there. I could worry on the true threat that's based off the environment, opposed to every trash pile or turning every alleyway. So I just wanted to highlight that helped me going forward, that comfort from that evening. The leadership piece, I think you made a good point. So leading by example is cliche, but I think it's important. In whatever you're doing, whether it's military or with your children, it's you want to limit the do as I say, not as I do. So, and a lot of times in me as a platoon leader, if my guys are out there cleaning the machine gun, the M240 Bravo, or they're having to do whatever the case, I would walk down and I would walk the lines with them, shoulder to shoulder in the trenches, because that builds that camaraderie, that respect. It's like, what? He is not putting himself on a different level. He is one of us. And so that is going to also build when you go into combat and you ask them to do very extraordinary things, and they will do it and follow you almost blindly, because you've built that faith and trust. And you can do that as a father with your child. Limit those opportunities and saying, do what I do. You just become leading by example in a variety of things, where it's, I'm going to make my bed in the morning. So are you. You know what? I'm not going to hit that snooze alarm. We're going to get up and we're going to mow the lawn at the time that we say it. It's just those little things, but tying it in from a variety of situations. Yeah, I just wanted to make